Today is July 12th, 2009. My heroin problem became so bad that I was doing 20 bags a day right before I take myself in a detox on July 2nd. So obviously you can tell that I didn't stay there for very long. I detoxed and decided I was just weak. I couldn't accept the fact that I had lied to everybody, that the boy I've been dating for 2 years has no idea what I've went through. I cannot accept the fact that heroin is the only reason I have to live now. It never used to be like that. So I got out of rehab 3 days ago, and I relapsed yesterday already. I'm just so scared because it's about to be a year. In 1 month it'll be a year of me consistently shooting up, and that is so not me. And it's just, I just want you to know it's really, 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 really hard. It's really, really hard.
I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. I dream of you. The same that you do, but do I swim with you? Do I dream the same dreams you do? I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. Thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. I dream of you. And I breathe the same that you do, but do I swim with you? Do I dream the same dreams you do?
I apologize for the extremely graphic visuals and past footage from my life. I just thought it was really important to kind of show you the addiction, because it's one thing to just hear it, but it's another thing to see it. I mean, clearly I look so young, I look so different, but I also wanted to show that transition from me being that person to me being the person you are seeing now. And that I never thought I'd ever get clean or be like a responsible adult or anything. I'm still kind of not. Anyway, I apologize if that footage was triggering or anything. I did try to put a little warning in the beginning so that you could fast forward. To me, it was just kind of important to show that. So now, after seeing a little glimpse into my past, here's a little look into what I've been doing at the meetups, what I've been kind of talking about, and then I'm going to follow up with another interview. So, enjoy.
So yeah, I feel like I'm pretty transparent online, and I do kind of reveal a lot about myself. I just don't have shame. I think being an addict for a really long time and like panhandling and doing a lot of desperate things, and clearly being judged a lot just kind of helped me not have shame, and that's I think what helped me really kind of just come out about what I was doing and not really giving a fuck, because I had already been ridiculed and judged so much for my addiction and other things. But I definitely got over-institutionalized from a young age, so all in all in my life I've been institutionalized 27 times, between like rehabs, jails, and mental institutes, which I think though helps me become really self-aware from a young age, you know, and realizing like I had the power to either just like be, you know, especially when you're young and you're sometimes in a mixed unit with people who are like 40 or older and they're still really unhappy. It makes you be like, fuck, I really don't want to be like that when I'm older. So I feel like it helped me become really self-aware and realizing the power of like positive thoughts, and like I can change my behavior and the way I think from negative to positive if I really tried. When I turned 16 is when I found heroin. I actually actively sought out the drug. I really wanted to try it.
I just wanted to quickly touch on dual diagnosis and how for me they went really hand in hand. So I was diagnosed with a bunch of different things at a young age. However, I kind of thought I didn't need medication, I didn't need anything, I could handle this myself, I was strong, I'm different. Oh, those people aren't like me, like I can handle things, you know what I mean? And so by pushing everything to the back, when I found drugs, it was my antidepressant, it was my anti-anxiety, and it was like everything balled up into one. And it just made me realize, especially being in rehabs, and I was always put into the dual diagnosis unit, it just made me realize that every time they would try and tell me you're going to keep having addiction issues until you really go back to the root of a lot of these things and trauma that you haven't processed. But a lot of stuff, especially with like my sexual abuse, I didn't want to talk about, I didn't want to process. I felt like it was done, it was over with, I don't really remember it anymore, who cares? Not realizing that it was still affecting me in my day-to-day life pretty strongly.
Welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassidy, aka Hooker Problems, and once again there has been a massive gap in time between my last video to now. Life just happens. Good things, bad things, unexpected things, but ultimately that's the beauty in life, is what I've discovered. This is my dog Mulan. I'm having her here because I'm going to be talking a little bit more in depth about really personal things in my past that I normally don't talk about online for various reasons, so she's my little support system right now. But it's extremely hot. I live in an old farmhouse, so between this hot dog on me and just being in an old farmhouse, I'm probably going to be dripping with sweat and the ring light right on me. So the reason why this has taken me so long to do, besides just normal traveling and doing meetups and trying to do self-care, I also just started my own LLC called Problematic, and it's going to be an adult content type production company, but we also want to do various things. We want to keep including the meetups, we want to keep doing apparel, we want to do all sorts of stuff, and all the adult content, which I'm going to talk about later on at the end of the video, because I plan on doing a whole separate video kind of explaining the company. But yeah, it's been kind of trippy to sign papers and see like CEO written on a piece of paper, especially since I was addicted to heroin for 7 years. I was institutionalized for the better portion of my adolescence. So it's nuts to come kind of full circle, and it's a really big moment for me, and I've been trying to put my all into it and really focus on everything, which has been extremely time consuming. And I'm also establishing a really good core team around me as well, which has been really awesome and has a lot of ups and downs and all of that. So yeah, that's a big reason why this video has taken me so long to do, even though I think I said it would be out months ago. I also have a lot of questions from people that were sent in that I asked a few months ago, so I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to be doing a whole separate video with questions and answers in regards to mental health, and I'm also going to have different people coming on and interviewing them and getting their opinion on certain things, because everybody has been through so many different things, so I think it's important to hear from different people to get different perspectives. I'm not going to divulge everything right now. There's a lot of stuff in my life and in my past that I don't talk about on social media due to the line of work I'm in. You know, when you start to open up about trauma, especially sexual trauma, people then assume that I'm doing sex work for all the wrong reasons. Future clientele, which right now all my clients find me through social media, webcam, FaceTime, Skype, all these people that I'm doing intimate things with, whether it be online or through text or what have you, find me through social media. So I knew it would deter people. You know, same thing when you tell people you're married. That usually deters people from wanting to hire you for your services. So soon as I open up usually about sexual trauma, people think that I'm this poor young girl who is doing sex work because she's been traumatized, which maybe that's the case, but it really doesn't feel that way to me at all. So there's a lot of things I'm going to reveal once I'm kind of more out of the sex work industry and I'm more fully focused on production. That's going to be things that I want to reveal to you over time. I have a lot of regrets in the sense of how I'm portrayed on social media. I think a lot of people find me empowering, but I feel like I've glorified sex work in a lot of ways, and I want to do a whole separate video on YouTube about that, how I really regret glorifying it, but because of how I find my clientele, you know, you kind of have to glorify it so you can get new people and new clientele. I really regret that I've glorified a lot of things. I get a lot of people asking me how they think they could get into sex work, and although I've been very fortunate, that's not always the case for people, and I can't guarantee people's safety. I can't guarantee that you're going to enjoy it or have good clients like me or nice and compassionate people. And there's a lot of things that I don't talk about that I did in the beginning that I really didn't know that I had a choice to say no to. And these are all things that I'm going to reveal over time, especially for VIP members through Problematic. That's where I'm going to be showing a way more intimate, in-depth side of me that I don't feel comfortable sharing on just public social media. I feel like my VIP members are a lot more open-minded, and a lot of them are fortunately females, so I feel like I can be myself more on there, if that makes any sense. So keep an eye out for more YouTube videos, especially in regards to mental health, addiction, trauma, what's to come in the future with Problematic, all of that good stuff, meetups, everything. It's been kind of wild over the past few months. I guess usually people start with their childhood. I think that's usually the place where people start, and for me that's a good place to start. I actually had a great childhood. I was actually born in this house. All natural birth. I think the midwife came halfway through my birth. My mom had no pain medication. And I always felt pressure that if I had kids, I was going to do it the same way. But I had a great childhood. My mother was from France, so she was an amazing cook. I had a lot of culture. We traveled growing up. I feel really blessed and fortunate. It wasn't until I was around 9 or 10 that an incident happened with me, which I will obviously divulge later on in life. And from there, I just kind of shut down. I was different. I was cold. I was confused. I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to. There was a lot of things going on in my family life that I don't feel comfortable speaking about just yet because I don't want to taint my mother's memory or disrespect my family. Especially because my mother just passed away last year. Those are things that I would probably talk about more as time went on. But my family just wasn't really there. They had a lot of their own issues, and now that I've gone through my own addiction, I completely understand, but at the time I didn't understand. And I definitely introverted and turned all of my anger to myself. I started punching myself, hitting myself. I didn't really know what suicide was at around 10 or 11 years old. Instead, I would just say things like, I want everything to be black. And I would fantasize about like jumping in the street and getting hit by a car, and I would tell my mom this and she would just be shocked. I started doing things for attention. I really wanted my parents to notice me, so I started drinking perfume or cutting myself or hitting myself or just grabbing sharp knives in front of them and being like, I'm gonna do this. And a lot of it was just attention seeking acts. That kind of turned into this dark obsession. Then it turned into, well, what is death? What would that feel like? What is the point of life? What would happen? And these existentialistic thoughts just took over me. Yet I knew it wasn't right, and I knew I didn't really want to die, but I felt that way. I grew up in a very privileged area. Everybody was a lot more well off than our family. I didn't feel like I had anybody who could relate to me, who could talk to me, that I could just reach out to. And there was one night I had friends over who, again, were a lot better off than my family. And my parents were both drunk and intoxicated, and they left They must have had an argument, and there was like shattered glass and light bulbs, and the trash was everywhere. And our friend's father dropped us off, and we walked inside, and it was just this like a murder scene. And my friends got really scared, and we were home alone. My parents weren't there, so they called their dad to come back to pick us up. And I felt really ashamed. You know, they were scared and kind of making fun of the situation and just didn't understand it. And as we were leaving my driveway, my parents pulled in drunk and started causing a scene. You know, I started crying, and I got out of the car and I said, I'm going with them and I don't understand. And my parents demanded that I stay. They said I was acting like a baby. I get in the car and they're just screaming at me. And when we got home, they just passed out. And I'd had enough. I didn't want to go to school the next day. I didn't want to have to face that. I knew everybody was going to be talking. And at that point, I would have rather sink than swim. And once again, I knew I didn't want to take my life. So I called the suicide hotline, and I told them exactly how I was feeling. And they explained to me that somebody was going to come and get me to be evaluated, but that a parent was going to need to be there for a signature. My parents were passed out. This is a story, once again, I'll share in the future, but an altercation happened, and the cops finally arrived. Milan's had enough now. She's like, the cops, I'm fucking out of here. So the cops finally arrived. They took me to the hospital where I was assessed at the crisis unit. I vocalized the way I felt very deeply. And looking back, I probably shouldn't have said half the things I said, but I had no filter. You know, I didn't realize it was probably digging myself into a worse hole by saying a lot of the things I was thinking, but I wanted to be honest. I wanted to change. I didn't want to feel that way at all. And I was about 13 years old when this happened. My first adolescent mental health unit was a massive wake-up call. I thought I had it bad. And then I started to talk to other people, and I realized I had it so good compared to a lot of people in there. Meeting 12-year-olds who had been raped by their entire family. Meeting people who would eat and bolts or anything from the walls to destroy their insides. I remember the first full day being like, I can go home now, like, I'm okay. And realizing that I felt like I actually had it pretty good. Not fully understanding that suffering is suffering. And sometimes people's situations can seem more intense, but that doesn't mean the pain and suffering you're feeling isn't real and valid. But it's hard not to compare yourself to others, especially when things are really intense. I was put on suicide watch for 72 hours, which meant everything was taken from me. My shoelaces, everything, hair ties. I had to have the lights on. I even had to sleep in the hallway for the first night on a mattress with fluorescent lights everywhere. To this day, fluorescent lights are a massive trigger for me. I hate going into somebody's house where they still have fluorescent bulbs in the bathroom or the kitchen. It amazes me how you could be around that. There's a lot of things from being institutionalized that trigger me today. Okay, she's back. She had a little timeout because she was crying. I was assessed by a psychiatrist. I think maybe I sat with him for about 30 minutes. And I think I was diagnosed with about 4 different things, including opposition defiant disorder, which is fucking hilarious to me looking back. Opposition defiant disorder? I was fucking 13. Of course I'm defiant. I'm rebellious. I mean, in my eyes at that age, I was like Holden Caulfield. You know what I mean? It was just, looking back, I was a normal adolescent teenager going through normal things. And I was overly diagnosed. I was put on a bunch of different medication. I was in inpatient for the first time about 2 weeks. I was institutionalized. And then I did outpatient for a while. And I didn't go to school or anything like that. I missed a lot of school. And when I went back, again, nobody understood me. Nobody had understood what I had went through. I remember somebody coming up to me and being like, oh, I thought you killed yourself. And I was like, oh, nope, still here. The first thing I was prescribed was Zoloft for depression. About a month in, I had my first real suicide attempt. Zoloft made me numb enough to kill myself. I didn't second guess it. I was completely numb. And we were warned that these antidepressants could sometimes have the opposite effect in adolescence, but at that point I was willing to try anything to change. But it just made me a zombie. And I got back in. I was institutionalized again, and that started to become a reoccurring theme in my life. And all in all, I've been institutionalized about 26 or 27 times, and that's including rehab, mental health, and jail. So, in a way, I find comfort and familiarity when I'm institutionalized. I know what to do, I know what to say. It got to the point where I didn't even get the help I needed because I just knew what they wanted to hear from me and how to get out. And I would just manipulate people and manipulate the system and manipulate the counselors or the doctors for no reason other than because I could. I didn't work on anything. I didn't process my trauma or my PTSD. I kind of said it didn't bother me, that I was glad it happened, that I learned a lot from it, that I kind of just wanted to forget about it. So I didn't really take anything seriously. And when I turned 16, it was my year of firsts. I had my first kiss, I lost my virginity, I smoked weed for the first time, I did coke for the first time, mushrooms, LSD, alcohol, and heroin. I just went crazy when I was 16, I guess. At that point, I had tried various antidepressants. I had been landed back and forth in mental health units. I wanted to be emancipated. I tried. I couldn't do it. My parents wouldn't sign the papers. And I just felt really trapped. And to me, heroin was going to help me stay numb enough until I was 18 and I could leave. I was 16. I had 2 years. I can do this. I can get numb enough. I think, for me, I knew what heroin was going to do, right? I loved Requiem for a Dream, Spun, Trainspotting, all these drug movies I idolized. I looked up to the drug addicts in school. I thought it was cool. And to me, I thought, I'm different. I won't get addicted to heroin like everybody else. I can handle myself. I snorted heroin for about 3 months and then went to my first rehab. I was 16, right? So there were adults and there are people in their 40s and 50s saying, you don't want to be like me. You don't want to be 40 or 50 years old in here. But they'd have these crazy stories. I mean, these really epic stories. And I'm fucked up. So I sat there and I thought, I want those stories. I really do. I would meet people there that were shooting up who had track marks, and here I was, this pussy, because I had only ever snorted it. I left wanting to be a better addict in that sense, wanting to be more addicted, wanting these fucking crazy stories. And I'm honest enough to admit that. I've been in rehab before where people would say, oh, well, when I did heroin, I had no idea it was going to make me sick. And I'd sit there like, really? Come on now, you had no idea it was going to make you sick? I knew what it was going to do and I did it anyway, because the sick side of me wanted to suffer. To me, that was like punishment. That was the biggest self-harm, was to make myself addicted and to feel trapped. And I remember the first time I ever was sick, really, really dope sick. And I remember thinking, you wanted this. Some sick side of you wanted this. And then reality hit me, and I was stuck, and I was addicted. And then again, in and out of rehabs constantly. I knew I wanted something more for myself. I just couldn't figure it out. Every time I tried to get clean or be in rehab, there was no niche or talent or speciality I had. There was nothing keeping me clean. Because what did I have in my life? Nothing. And I was so young and didn't fully understand. Between 16 and 23, I was addicted to heroin. The most clean time I ever had, full on clean, no drugs, alcohol, nothing, was 2 weeks, maybe 3. But I had 3 months sober when I turned about 19, 19, I moved to the UK for the first time. And there was 3 months where I just didn't use heroin, but I was smoking weed and drinking, doing like MCAT and all these other crazy things, ketamine. And when I went back to visit for Christmas, I relapsed instantly, crashed my car because I was so fucked up. I had a boyfriend I had met in rehab at 18. Every time I'd fly home from the UK, we would get high again. We'd start running partners again. I mean, I would literally land, the plane would land from the UK, my mom would pick me up, and immediately I'd get in that driver's seat. She'd start crying, please when we go home, please don't leave, please just stay, you don't need to do this. And I was horrible. I'd say, shut the fuck up, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want to do. And I'd get home and I'd drop her off and I'd drive out of the driveway. I mean, I'd just gotten off the plane, but like this was so strong, and then it made me realize I had been planning this the whole time I knew I was going to go back home. I'd been planning it since then. It was so subconscious. It was the addiction in me, just wanting to destroy everything and self-sabotaging myself. Every time, and this still happens today, I still struggle with this, but every time things go right, it's uncomfortable for me. I'm so used to things going wrong. So when things start to go right, it's like, whoa, okay, I'm not used to this, so let me throw a wrench in there and fuck it all up. And I self-sabotage all the time, and it's a huge, huge problem for me. I tried everything to get clean, rehab. I'd been on methadone in the past, Suboxone. I even went to Mexico and took Ibogaine, which I've touched on in the past. Still did black tar in Mexico. Then I discovered shooting cocaine as well, which really made my addiction crash and burn really fast. I'd get these highs and lows. I moved out to Colorado and started speedballing. I moved out to Florida and started doing Roxy's. I could find it anywhere I went in the world. I would constantly move and travel, but you can't run away from yourself, and I had to really accept that. I was the person seeking out drugs. I was the person looking for that. I was the person attracting that. It wasn't everybody else around me. I couldn't use that excuse anymore. I couldn't say, oh, it's this town, it's this house, it's this area, the drugs are too easily accessible. Fuck that. It was me. I ran out of my veins very quickly. I've showed my scars in past YouTubes. I blew out all my arms, my neck, even my femoral veins around my groin, my legs, my feet. So I started muscle popping heroin, and I started smoking crack, which really started to fuel this paranoia in me that is still really prevalent today. Crack really made it easier for me to get clean because I just couldn't do it anymore. Like these extreme highs and lows, and it really like destroyed me faster. When it was just heroin, I could almost go on these long binges of using for like 8 months before I'd check into a rehab or break down and say I can't do this anymore. But with the crack and coke, I mean, I'd get like 2 months, then I'd be like, fuck, I can't do this. I was street prostituting before I moved to the UK, which is another story that I will talk about in the future because it involves a lot of legal things that I can't really discuss just yet. So I moved to the UK where it was legal. I worked for an agency and learned the ropes, and then I went independent. I met a girl. We started working together. I moved in with her. She found out about my addiction, and she was actually a drugs and alcohol worker for years in the UK, and I started to hand her my drugs. And she would hold them and ration them out to me. She set me up with a methadone appointment. She held on to my crack for me. She never judged me. She never said no. She was very, very kind and compassionate about it. And today I'm still so in debt to her for that. Everything I have today is because she helped me and believed in me and was kind about it and patient. And the first day I did methadone, I think it was actually January 1st or 2nd, 2014. And I never used heroin after that. I still have never used heroin. I did struggle with crack again for a while, but without the heroin to come down from, I quickly had to stop using crack because my paranoia became so extreme that I was just constantly on edge, constantly checking doors, constantly checking windows, constantly looking outside the window. If the dog's ears perked up, oh, someone was definitely breaking in because the dog's ears are perking up. I mean, it was fucking nuts. So once the crack stopped and I was just on methadone and sober and smoking weed, I decided to join social media. My friend told me that, hey, you know, if you join Instagram, you might get some more male clientele. and boom, just took off from there. So today I'm still on methadone. I'm on 38 milligrams. I never went past 70. I'm slowly tapering off. So I've been on methadone since January 2nd, 2014. It's 2017. So yeah, I've been on methadone for about 3.5 years. Have not used heroin. Have dabbled with crack here and there. I have no desire to do drugs at all today, whatsoever. I'm just at a very different place in my life. I look back and I remember the last time I was in rehab, and I remember there was this really young, like 18-year-old kid there. I remember being that older person who was like, you don't want to be like me, trust me. You don't want to do that. And I was telling him all these crazy stories, and he turned to me and he goes, is it fucked up that I want that? So it brought me right back. And I realized I have all these fucking crazy stories now. I did. I got that. So I can stop. I don't need this, right? I mean, I've been there, done that. And that's a lot of how I feel today. I don't really think I'd ever use again because I'm over it. At the point when I got clean and got on methadone, I mean, I would wait until I was so sick that I had to use. I didn't want to use. I would have a lot of drugs, and I would wait until I had to do it because I literally didn't want to do it anymore. It was so painful to inject. I'm covered in sores still today that haven't ever, I don't know if they're ever going to heal. I've met with plastic surgeons. They don't know what they can do for me. So today, currently, I'm still on methadone. I'm at 38 milligram. I was prescribed in the UK, and I noticed a massive difference in the way they handle methadone in the UK compared to America. In America, they just up you and up you and up you, and don't really explain to you that actually it's going to take you a long time to get off methadone, whereas in the UK, they never upped me really, you know, they're paying for it, whereas here it's all private, and I've noticed a massive difference. Kind of frustrating. Every day I have to go to a clinic and dose. I have to dose in front of somebody. They refuse to give me take-homes because marijuana is in my system and occasionally alcohol. I do not have a problem with alcohol. I don't really keep it in the house. With weed, I only smoke it at night. It really helps me with my appetite and sleep. If I have a day off, I'll smoke it in the day. I'm really picky. I only really like indicas. I like things that keep me kind of mellow and low. I don't really like racing thoughts in my head. So smoking weed and occasionally drinking hasn't affected my sobriety or making me triggered to go feel and use heroin, but you know, everybody is different. So that doesn't go to say that, you know, everybody else can do that, because for some people weed is a gateway drug and they get sick of that high and they want a different high. For me, like, I really just feel like I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was done. I really was. I was done using heroin. I was over it. That being said, I'm on methadone, and opiate is still hitting my receptors. A few months ago, I tried to get off methadone because I was going back to the UK, to London and Dublin, and I was doing the meetups over there, and I wanted to not have to go dose, and I wanted to be able to travel and go to Amsterdam if I wanted to, and just get on a flight and go with my friends. So I rushed my taper. I was going down 2 milligrams every week. Now, the correct way to get off methadone is to go down 2 milligrams every 2 weeks. But that being said, every single person is different. So everybody's way that's recommended to get off could be very different. I got down to about 12 milligrams of methadone. All of a sudden, I started to have back pain. I started to get really dark thoughts. It was like I was 16 again, and suicidal. I started to break down and scream and cry, having panic attacks. Now, because of my PTSD, when I have panic attacks, it's like disassociative. I never knew what it was, because when I think of panic attack, I think of somebody like hyperventilating in a bag and like they can't breathe. And through recent therapy, I've learned actually my panic attacks are disassociative, meaning I shut down, I stare out, I get into a ball, I slouch on the ground, whether in the bathroom or wherever, and I just stare off. I say, I don't care. I don't want to do this anymore. I give up. I just don't care. And I can get stuck like that for a long time, and it's really scary. And in that moment, I really do want to die. And I still suffer from this here and there today. So when I got down to 12 milligrams, I also got diagnosed with scoliosis and no cartilage in my knees. Methadone is a great painkiller, so I wasn't really feeling pain. And when I started to go down, the pain was, you know, revealed to me, and it became unbearable. I wasn't thinking about using, but I was thinking, oh man, a Percocet could really take away that, or an Oxy. And I vocalized this to my therapist, and I said, I'm starting to have these thoughts. And we agreed that it just wasn't the time for me to get off methadone, and I went back up to 40. It was going to help me with the pain. To me, I was already on methadone. I was recommended to maybe utilize it for pain since I was already on it. So now I've gone down to 38. I've tapered down 2 milligrams. And I can't get take-homes because of marijuana and alcohol. So every day I go and dose. Every time you see me travel, every single day, wherever I am, I have to go and get methadone. It is so inconvenient. And it's really frustrating because here I am traveling to do stuff for my life. These are good things for me, for my career, for my future. These are really amazing things that I feel like I'm doing, yet aren't recognized as something good. And my urines cannot be, they can't just like brush that off and be like, okay, well, you're doing all these good things, so your urines don't matter. So now I'm at a point where I need to get off methadone. It's become a massive inconvenience in my life. I can't sleep over in New York City. I can't go away to the beach if I wanted to. I can't if a client calls me and goes, I want to fly you out right now to Miami. And I've had requests like this. I gotta say, if you give me 2 weeks notice, I can get some, guest dosing set up. And I don't like to tell my clients I'm on methadone. They think all these crazy things. They're not gonna... I'd rather somebody get to know me. All my regulars know that I'm on methadone. I've revealed this, but they've gotten to know me first. They've gotten to hear me, see that I'm not fucked up, and none of them, it has never been an issue with any of my clients. And I do like to be very forthcoming about it, and I do reveal a lot about myself with my clients. I'm very much myself. I don't hide. I reveal my real name. I open up about who I am, my past, my trauma even. I'm very much an open book. I open up about suicide attempts. Everything I open up about. So now it's at a point. I need to get off. So I'm thinking about switching to Suboxone. This is something I might have to do very soon, so you guys will probably see updates or maybe me disappear. Because to get on Suboxone from methadone, I can't use anything for about 4 or 5 days. I can't have methadone, so it's going to be pretty painful. Methadone is stored in like your fatty tissue and your cells, so when it takes a while to leave your body and it's actually excruciatingly painful, feels like your bones are just like being like pulled. I get really bad restless legs. So I'm at a really pivotal moment right now in my life. Getting off methadone is going to be a lot harder than I thought, and then all these dark thoughts come into my head. What if I'm the same person I was before I ever used opiates? Because really, I haven't been off opiates since I've been 16. Minus those 2-3 weeks and that little bit of time in England, like 3 months, but I was still using a whole bunch of other things. What if I revert back? They always say, you're still stuck at the age you started using drugs at. It's not when you get clean, and I guess that's gotten to my head. And I can get very negative about the way I'm thinking. What if I'm suicidal again? What if I hate myself? What if I struggle to find my voice? What if I'm in pain for the rest of my life? All these what ifs come into play, and it's scary. And then I have to tell myself, no, you have to be positive. You're not that same person. You've changed. You've grown. You're strong. You're independent. I have to really have these positive affirmations and pep talks with myself. Hence why I'm in therapy twice a week. I do group therapy, and my most therapeutic thing is the meetups. Getting in a room with a bunch of other girls, opening up about our trauma or abuse, feeling less alone. I've opened up about things in these meetups that I don't really get to talk about. In therapy, it's different. I know I'm not going to be judged, but there's just certain things I get scared to talk about. But in the meetups, I feel really safe. Which is why I knew this was something I wanted to keep doing. Not just for everybody else, because it was an outlet for me in a selfish way. And hey, it's benefiting so many other people. And it just turned into something I would have not expected at all. And it's become my most looked forward to form of therapy. So I'm scared. I'm nervous. I still suffer from depression. I'm not better. I'm not normal. I'm still finding my way. A lot of what you see on social media is this confidence in me that I portray to try and trick myself. In reality, I'm still scared. I'm really fucking scared. But I realize how much I've overcome. and that if I could get off heroin, I can get off methadone. And it really helps having all of you. You guys are the most incredible support system. When people ask me how am I so confident, I mean, the things people say to me online radiate such positivity. Makes me feel so good about myself. That's helped me in so many ways. All of you have helped me in so many ways, more than you will ever possibly know. But I'm still scared. I'm still nervous. And I plan on sharing that adventure with you. I plan on sharing this transition with you. I think it's important. You know, I get a lot of messages from people in active addiction or in early recovery, and I don't want people to get on methadone because I've made it seem all like amazing. I want to kind of show everything, the downside of it, the scary sides of it. I really want to open up and talk. And over the next few months, well, really over the next year, you're going to hear a lot more from me. This is kind of my last year of doing sex work. I'm transitioning fully into making content. And I'm excited because I'm going to be able to reveal a lot more about myself without feeling like it's going to affect my income or the way people view me or my clientele. So it's a big change, but it's a really positive change, and it's been one I've been thinking about for a while. This exit plan has been in place for a few years now. I started realizing, what am I going to do when I can't work anymore? And I started kind of planning things out, and things have kind of evolved and grown or changed course through the reactions I've got through fellow femmes in the world and online and through social media. So yeah, that's just a glimpse into my mental health, my past, my addiction. There's a lot more I want to share. And if you are going through any of this or have gone through this, just know you're not alone. And it's okay if you don't feel better one day. I don't think I'm ever going to feel fixed. To me, there's beauty in being self-aware and self-discovery. There's still so many parts of myself I want to get in touch with. There's still so many things I need to process. And I don't want to stop. I don't want to give up. I want to keep going. I have such this urge and desire to like figure myself out. And it's exciting finding things out or realizing, oh, that's why I do that. Okay. Or just being very self-aware of my thought process. And I tend to treat the people who love me the most, who I know are going to love me no matter what, the worst. And I tend to want to push everybody away so that I can self-hate again. And right now I have a really good support system, not just online, but in person through therapy. Therapy has really worked for me. Medication has not. But like I said, every single person is different. Ooh, we're getting a thunderstorm. Thunderstorms are my favorite thing ever. I love thunderstorms so much. And little things like this, like a thunderstorm, brings me so much joy. You have to find like simple pleasures in life. But I think I can do this transition. No. I know I can do this transition because it's all about the way I think and am viewing things. And I feel very blessed to have all of you in my life, even virtually. You guys give me so much strength. You really, really do. You inspire me. You motivate me. You give me such positive encouragement. I have a really good in-person support system, like I said. And I have a lot to look forward to in my life. And I have a lot to still share with you. And I just want to thank you all for listening. And I'm really excited to show you more and tell you more about Problematic and show you a lot more future videos in regards to mental health. We want to do interviews with sex workers on our website, the VIP website, like the members only website. We want to do interviews with sex workers who are mothers or just sex workers who have had trauma or mental health. We want kind of our pornography to be based around women and femmes who have had trauma and have learned to rediscover themselves sexually. It took me a while to enjoy sex, it really did. And that's something I want to share, and I want to explain what little things helped me to rediscover myself or get in tune with myself or love my body. And these are things we want to share, and we want to share not just from me, not just from Lux, but from people all over the world. And we want to start interviewing every model we do a video with, and we want to do behind the scenes and interviews and more personal stuff about them. We want to focus a lot more about trauma and addiction. There's just so much we want to do, and I think it's really important to talk about these things, and I think it's really important to open up about kinks or taboos or things in your sex life you've discovered that really work for you, because you might be able to help somebody else just by giving them your insight into how you did something. So it's exciting. It really is, and I really hope that you guys all enjoy everything that we're about to come up with, everything we're about to release. It is probably going to take us a while. I try and do everything on my own, and I'm very stubborn, and once tell somebody to do something, I tend to overlook over their shoulder the whole time, and then I'm like, I'll just do it. So I'm really learning to let go, and I need to learn a lot more about myself and how to accept help and how to ask for help. I just wanted to thank you all for being such a big part of my life and my recovery without even really knowing it. You've all kept me sober and sane. So thank you all so much. And just know that you're not alone if you're going through anything, and know that you can always reach out to me. I might take a while to respond, but I always do try and respond. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. Thank you for listening to me. And like I said, I hope to show you this transition phase as much as I can, trying to record behind the scenes, starting to show you guys some day in the life stuff, especially with this transition. I really want to be open and transparent about it. So thank you all. You are all such amazing, incredible human beings, and I can't tell you enough how much you've helped me, and I can't thank you enough, but thank you all so much.